There is a treasure that does not lie out there in the distance, but resides within your very imagination. Every image you nurture, every emotion you release, is the seed of a world awaiting to take form. This journey will guide you through the manger of consciousness, where the Christ is born, through the law of creation, expressed in thought, emotion, and image, through the power of forgiveness and gratitude, and toward the ultimate destination of a new society born from a renewed inner life. This is not mere theory, it is a living spiritual law, capable of transforming your life the very moment you choose to apply it, opening the journey of sacred imagination. Deep within every soul lies a sacred power that few ever truly recognize. It does not clamor, it does not boast, it quietly abides in the mind, waiting to be awakened by attention and faith. This power is imagination, not the vague dreaming of idle fancy, but the sacred imagination, the channel through which the ideas of God enter the human mind and find form in the world. When Scripture declares that the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, its meaning reaches beyond a single moment in history. The Word is the divine thought, and flesh is the visible form. The bridge between the two realms is imagination. It is the creative instrument that God has placed within every human being. The world you now live in, everything you touch from the home you dwell in to the work you do, began as an idea, imagined, nurtured, and then brought into form. Therefore, your journey is not about seeking power outside of yourself, but awakening the imagination that has long been dormant within you. The manger in the Christmas story is not merely a touching image from a winter's night long ago. It is an eternal metaphor. In the humble manger, away from the noise of the inn, a new life was born. So it is within the quiet of your mind. When the clamor of anxiety and ambition gives way to stillness, a new birth takes place. That is when imagination becomes sanctified. When it becomes the dwelling where the Word takes form, it is there that the Christ is born anew within you. No throne is required. No palace is needed. Only a heart prepared to receive. If you look closely at your life today, you will see that every result is the shadow of images once held in your mind. Repeated fears create illness. Long-nurtured images of lack give rise to poverty. Yet this same imagination, when placed under the light of faith, can open the way to peace, healing, and abundance. Imagination is like a doorway. If you hang upon it the images of darkness, the whole room will be filled with shadow. But if you place even a single candle of light upon it, the entire space will shine. Thus, all the work of the soul begins with choosing which images to nurture in your imagination. Some may ask, is imagination truly so important? The answer is not only that it is important, but that it determines the entire course of your life. For imagination is the soil where the seeds of your future are planted. Remember, a seed does not require a grand garden to grow. It only needs a small patch of earth. Likewise, your imagination only needs a quiet corner of stillness. Guard it well, and good images will take root. From there, the invisible begins its journey into the visible, and you will discover that no prayer is ever wasted when it is clearly imagined and supported by genuine feeling. But imagination is also like a river. It can carry fresh waters to nourish the fields, or it can turn into a flood that destroys if left unguided. Many let this river flow unchecked, filled with random images of fear and worry. They sow within themselves visions of failure, memories of sorrow, and then marvel when their lives mirror those same shadows. But this is no accident. It is the unchanging law. Imagination shapes the form of life. If you want your life to change, you cannot merely change your job, your location, or your companions. You must change the images within, for that is the root of all transformation. In this age of noise and pressure, people more easily forget the necessity of guarding a pure imagination. Yet it is precisely in such times that the call to turn inward becomes most urgent. Jesus taught, when you pray, enter into your inner chamber and shut the door. That inner chamber need not be of stone and brick. It is the quiet corner of your soul where you close off the clamors of the outer world, so that imagination may rest and receive the images of truth. If you grasp this, you will understand that the spiritual path is not about amassing more knowledge or multiplying rituals. It is about learning to keep your imagination pure and steadfast. That is when you become a co-creator with God. For when you hold in your heart the image of the good, when you feel its life within you, the universe begins to move to bring that image nearer, not through scattered miracles, but through natural law. On the journey of sacred imagination, you begin by observing yourself. Every thought passing through your mind is a seed. Every image you hold long enough is a sprout pushing through the soil. You may choose to hold images of lack, failure, and fear, and you will reap the harvest they produce. Or you may choose images of peace, abundance, and healing, and you will gather the harvest of life. The choice is always yours. No one can govern your imagination but you, and it is there that divine power waits for your recognition. Therefore, treat your imagination as a holy temple. Keep it pure. Do not allow unclean images of fear to enter. Guard it as you would a flame in the wind, and each day let that flame be kindled with images of the good. For this is the path by which the Christ is born once more within you. The manger of consciousness, where Christ is born, within every human being, there is a secret chamber unknown to the crowd outside. It is not radiant like a temple, nor resplendent like a throne. It is simply a humble corner of the mind, the Kita's place, untouched by applause, unseen by any gaze. This is the inner manger, the place where Christ may be born. The Christmas story we know so well is not only a historical memory, it is a living truth, repeated each time a soul opens to let the good take form. Remember, Christ did not choose a palace, nor did he seek a prosperous kingdom. He only needed a place humble, yet empty, enough to receive new life. So it is with your mind. It does not need perfection, wealth, or brilliance. It only needs readiness, silence, and release from the clamor of life. In that very emptiness, light will break forth, and a new image of your life will be born. Have you ever asked yourself, in the crowded stream of living, have you prepared a manger within your mind? A place where you pause the noise, step away from the burden of work, the weight of bills, the anxiety of how others see you. Do you have such a sanctuary within your soul? For without it, Christ cannot be born in you, and the good cannot find form to manifest. The manger is the symbol of a humble mind, open to receive the holy. And if you have never prepared a manger, then today, this very moment, you may begin. It is vital to understand Christ does not arrive by knowledge or complex formulas. He is not born in conference halls, nor introduced among the multitudes. He is born in silence, unnoticed, unheralded. That is why your imagination, when joined with stillness, becomes the perfect manger for the Word made flesh. Look within your mind, and you will see images you once carried in silence that one day became real. This is not a random miracle, but an eternal law. Just as Mary kept all she heard within her heart until the time came for the child to be born, so it is with you. Hold a good image in silence, and in its appointed hour, it will become reality. There are those who say, I have prayed many times, yet nothing has changed. But they forget that the manger of their mind is crowded. It is filled with doubt, crowded with worry, packed with negative images. How can Christ be born in a chamber already overflowing with shadows? Your first task is not to beg for more, but to clear the space within, as a farmer before sowing must plow the soil, pull the weeds, and soften the ground. So must you prepare your mind, remove the doubts, uproot the images of failure, and soften it with stillness. Then the inner manger will be ready to receive the holy power. Recall the times when you were truly silent, untroubled by anything else. Did you not feel a quiet peace entering in? That peace itself is the space, the manger, humble yet powerful. For there new images may form, and Christ may be born. This is not myth. It is a spiritual process that anyone may experience. If in your hands today you hold only difficulties, stop staring at them so long. Withdraw into the secret chamber within. Close your eyes and imagine a new picture, a life of peace, of healing, of abundance. Hold that image like a newborn in the manger, fragile yet precious, needing protection. Do not parade it before others. Do not let the winds of the world extinguish it. Keep it within your heart with patience, and you will see one day that image will grow and become real in your life. Let me ask you this right now. Are you giving your mind a manger? Are you clearing a space where Christ may be born within you? If your answer is no, then now is the best time to begin. You need not wait for Christmas, nor for a miracle from outside. Only be still. Only open your heart, and the manger is already there. And within it, the good may be born whenever you are ready. Thank you for sitting here, for listening and walking along this path. Your very presence is proof that the manger is already within you, waiting for you to open it and receive new life. And once you do, you will discover that Christ was never far. He was only waiting for you to make room in your soul. The law of creation, thought, emotion, form, everything that appears in human life unfolds according to a definite spiritual order. No event, no circumstance, whether small or great, exists apart from its origin in thought. Thought is the seed. Emotion is the life that nourishes it. And form is the harvest. This law admits of no exception. Just as a man who sows wheat cannot expect to reap grapes, so a mind that nurtures negative images cannot expect to live in peace. This is not punishment. It is the unfailing precision of the law of creation. Scriptura declares, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. This is not merely moral counsel. It is a law of life. Man is not the victim of outward circumstances. He is the outcome of inward images. When an idea is nourished with strong feeling, it becomes a command delivered to the subconscious, and the subconscious, faithful as the soil, produces exactly what has been sown. Sow faith and good images, and you will reap health, peace, and abundance. Sow fear, doubt, and the image of failure, and your life will reflect the same. It is crucial to recognize that thought alone is not enough. A fleeting idea is like a seed falling on the wayside, unable to take root. Only when thought is wrapped in emotion does it sink deep into the subconscious. Emotion is the vital sap, the water and the light that make the seed grow. A man may repeat 1,000 affirmations, such as I am healthy, I am prosperous, but if his heart is still filled with fear and doubt, those words bear no fruit. Conversely, a single idea deeply felt with faith and sincere emotion has the power to alter an entire condition. The law of creation works silently yet unfailingly. You cannot see the seed sprouting the moment it is planted, but you know with certainty that it is growing beneath the soil. So it is with imagination. When you hold an image steadily in mind, nourished with strong feeling, the outer may not yet show change, but the transformation has already begun within. Many destroy this process through impatience. They sow today, and tomorrow they dig up the soil to see if the seed has grown. Breaking its growth, an unsteady mind is the enemy of the law of creation. Persistence, loyalty to the image, is what brings forth the result. Consider the example of those who pray for healing. Some hold within their minds the picture of a body radiant and whole, and they feel it as reality even while sickness remains. That conviction sinks deep. The subconscious accepts, and in time the body responds. Others also pray, also repeat affirmations, yet their hearts are filled only with fear and despair. The image they hold is of sickness, not of health, and so no change comes. The difference is not in the number of prayers, but in the law of thought and emotion. In the matter of prosperity, the same law applies. The one who imagines himself always in lack, haunted by the fear of running out of money, will find that no matter how hard he works, life mirrors poverty. But the one who imagines abundance, who feels the joy of sufficiency, will gradually draw to himself the opportunities and resources required. The subconscious does not judge, it only obeys. If you sow images of fear, it produces fear. If you sow images of peace, it produces peace. This neutrality makes the law of creation either your faithful ally or the very path that leads you astray, depending on how you govern your thoughts and feelings. There is one central characteristic of the law. It does not distinguish between what is real and what is imagined, between outer and inner. Whatever you feel deeply, the subconscious records as fact. Thus, when you envision a good life and live within its feeling, to the subconscious it is already real. And since form follows thought, the outer world gradually conforms to the inner pattern. This is why Jesus taught, when you pray, believe that you have received and it shall be yours. He did not say, wait until you see, then believe. He commanded that we begin with faith and the inner image, and form will follow. This truth may unsettle those who long for shortcuts. Yet it is itself the good news, for if the outer world is only an effect, then you are no longer its victim. You are the one holding the key. Each day you sow with thought and feeling, and the law of creation faithfully returns to you the harvest. This is absolute justice, no favoritism, no punishment, only principle. When you understand the law of creation, you cease arguing with circumstance, cease blaming fate, you return within to the place where the image begins. You know that a single thought, filled with faith, supported by steadfast emotion, will in time become form. And so you walk in peace, knowing that the law is working for you, as it has worked from the beginning. The power of the response picture. True prayer is not words, nor lifeless repetition. Prayer is the action of sanctified imagination. When your mind envisions a clear, vivid picture and sustains it with unwavering emotion. This is the power of the response picture. The human mind does not respond strongly to vague ideas. It responds to definite images. The subconscious does not reason, it records and accepts what you show it as reality. Therefore, instead of merely affirming, I want to be healthy, you must see yourself healthy in your mind. You must imagine your steps steady, your laughter ringing, your body filled with vitality. That is the response picture. And when it is held firmly in imagination, it becomes a command to the subconscious to carry it out. Too often we pray in haste, desiring change, while still holding opposing images in the mind. The poor man prays for abundance, yet fills his thoughts each day with piled up bills and pictures of lack. The sick pray for healing, yet allow their imagination to dwell on sickness, pain, and despair. This contradiction renders prayer powerless. The response picture teaches us how to pray rightly, not merely to ask, but to see the good as already real. A picture that is clear, detailed, and supported by emotion opens the way for form to appear. Remember the words of Jesus. If you abide in me and my words abide in you, ask whatever you will, and it shall be done for you. Here, he does not emphasize repetition of speech, but abiding, dwelling in the state of already maintaining a consistent image within the mind. This abiding is true prayer. Thus, the response picture is not idle fantasy. It is a spiritual method, a sacred discipline. It requires clarity, a focus, and persistence. To build a response picture, choose one that is simple yet rich with meaning. If you pray for harmony in your family, do not merely say, "I want peace." Imagine the warm meal shared, voices filled with laughter, eyes glowing with joy. If you seek new work, see yourself in a bright office, your desk in order, colleagues welcoming your heart alive with enthusiasm. The more concrete the image, the more readily the subconscious accepts it, and the more easily your feelings flow into it. Scripture is filled with such images. The shepherd leading his flock to green pastures and still waters, the farmer sowing seed and waiting for the harvest, the father running to meet the prodigal son. All are vivid pictures the mind can grasp. That is why Jesus taught in parables, for he knew imagination does not remember abstract concepts. It remembers images. When you learn to form response pictures for yourself, you are walking in that very principle. One important point is this: the response picture must be focused on you, on the transformation of your mind and heart, not on manipulating or imposing upon others. Christ did not come to control. He came to reveal. When you imagine yourself healthy, peaceful, joyful, you are not forcing anyone. You are affirming the truth within. When you picture your family in harmony, you are not compelling them to change. You are sowing a new image in the subconscious, and it will arrange circumstances according to that picture. Another principle of the response picture is consistency. You cannot build a bright image today and then cancel it tomorrow with fear and complaint. The subconscious demands constancy. The longer you sustain the response picture, the more it becomes the pattern that shapes your life. And the wonder is, once the image is imprinted, you do not need to strain or force. It unfolds naturally. For the law of creation is always faithful to the image, nourished by feeling. Treat the response picture as a precious seed. Plant it in your mind. Shield it from doubt. Water it with faith and emotion. Be patient. Do not rush. Do not break the process. In its season, the seed will push through, and form will appear in your life. There is nothing mysterious, nothing accidental. It is the eternal law of thought, feeling, and form. If you wish to try, choose one definite thing in your life. Do not scatter your energy. Select just one. Build for it a response picture, as clear as possible. See it as already done. Feel the joy and peace of its presence. Each day, for a few quiet moments, return to that picture, and you will find, whether swiftly or slowly, the outer world begins to move to reflect the inner world, and then you will know what true prayer is. what it means for the Word to become flesh, and how imagination itself becomes the holy instrument through which a new life is created. Emotion, the seal of the subconscious. If thought is the seed and imagination is the soil, then emotion is the seal that impresses the image into the subconscious. Without emotion, every idea drifts away like writing on sand, quickly erased by the wind. But when thought is saturated with strong feeling, it is carved into stone, enduring, powerful, and capable of shaping life. This is the hidden secret of spiritual creation that many overlook. They believe that mere repetition of affirmations is enough, but the subconscious does not respond to empty sounds. It responds to the vibration behind the words. If your lips say, "I am healthy," but your heart trembles with anxiety, then it is the anxiety that the subconscious accepts as command. Emotion is the current that lights the bulb of thought. A bulb, no matter how finely made, remains dark without electricity. An idea, no matter how noble, remains ineffective without feeling. This is why so many pray and see no results. They pray with words, but their hearts are full of fear and doubt. The subconscious does not hear words. It hears the beat of the heart. It hears fear. It hears faith. And it brings forth what it hears. When thought and feeling are united, the power is unstoppable. But when they are in conflict, feeling always prevails. Remember the teaching. When will and imagination clash, imagination always wins. For imagination is infused with emotion, while will is but a dry intention. You may determine with all your strength to be wealthy, yet if deep inside you feel poor, that feeling of poverty is the image the subconscious holds. You may affirm health, but if inwardly you see yourself weak, weakness becomes your reality. Your task, therefore, is not to strain with force, but to change the feeling attached to the image in imagination. One powerful practice for uniting emotion with thought is anticipatory gratitude. When you give thanks for something as though it has already happened, you awaken the exact feeling that matches it. Gratitude cannot exist alongside doubt. If you are truly thankful for something, in that moment you believe it is real. This is the vibration the subconscious records. When you give thanks for health, even while your body aches, you plant the seed of healing. When you give thanks for abundance, while your purse is empty, you open the door to prosperity. Gratitude is the adhesive that fixes thought into the subconscious. Picture a farmer sowing seed. He does not sit muttering that he hopes it will grow, then tremble with fear that the soil may be barren. He sows with steady faith and walks away in peace, knowing the harvest will come. So it is with you. You plant images in imagination, and emotion is the seal that shows the seed is truly planted. If you sow with fear, you will harvest fear. If you sow with faith, you will harvest faith. This law is so precise, there is no exception. In daily life, you can observe this clearly. The person who lives in constant worry about illness often attracts illness, not because he desires it, but because he continually impresses the subconscious with images of weakness, and the ink of anxiety makes them permanent. By contrast, the one who carries joy and confidence attracts favorable opportunities. His emotions are signals broadcast outward, and the universe responds with corresponding forms. You will discover that you cannot separate emotion from results. Emotion is the cord that pulls the image from the invisible into the visible. This means that to change your life, you cannot merely alter words or shallow thoughts. You must change the atmosphere of feeling you carry each day. Emotion is the climate of the soul. If it is dark, life will be dark. If it is bright, life will be bright. Every action and every word springs from this climate. Therefore, watch your feelings, for they are the silent prayers you send unceasingly into the universe. Some believe they cannot control emotions, but in truth, they can redirect them by changing the images in imagination. When you envision a good scene and live within it, emotion shifts automatically. You do not need to force yourself to be joyful. Simply hold the image of the good, and joy comes naturally, just as recalling a painful memory instantly floods you with sorrow. So does a beautiful image call forth peace. Imagination and emotion always walk together. By mastering the image, you master the feeling, and thereby you reshape life itself. Emotion is the seal of the subconscious, the driving force that brings ideas into form. It does not care who you are or what your station may be. It only obeys what you feel as real. If you learn to use emotion to impress good images, you will see life change in ways the intellect could never predict. This is spiritual science, exact, certain, beyond luck or chance. And once you grasp this secret, you will realize that you are no longer a victim of your feelings, but a skilled craftsman using emotion to engrave the future of your own life. Anticipatory gratitude, the energy of creation. Gratitude is not merely an attitude once something has been received. It is the very energy that opens the door to creation before any result appears. When you give thanks as though your desire is already fulfilled, you send a powerful signal to the subconscious that it is indeed real. Anticipatory gratitude is the bridge that carries you from faith to form. From idea to manifestation, it is the swiftest way to bind emotion to an image, engraving upon the subconscious that the seed has already sprouted. You cannot feel gratitude and doubt at the same time. For when gratitude arises, doubt must vanish. Imagine you are praying for health. Instead of repeating the wish to be healed, you envision yourself already whole and give thanks. As you speak gratitude, your body vibrates as though restoration has taken place. The subconscious records that vibration and begins adjusting the form. Likewise, if you pray for prosperity, do not stare at the emptiness of your purse. Give thanks for supply already arrived. In the moment you offer gratitude in your heart, you cease to beg as one in lack and begin to affirm as one who has received, and that very posture opens the circulation of the good. Anticipatory gratitude is the language of faith. It does not wait with natural eyes, it sees with the mind. When you give thanks, you are declaring to the universe, I am certain the law of creation is at work. You need not know how. You only need to know that it exists already in the invisible and will appear in the visible. Like the farmer who sows seed, he does not stand over the field pleading for it to grow. He walks away secure, joyful, knowing the harvest is sure. That state of thanksgiving beforehand is the energy that makes the seed grow. Here lies a subtle secret. Gratitude releases the mind from clinging to results. You no longer worry when or how it will come. You live instead in the safety that it is already yours. This state frees energy, protecting the image you hold from being shattered by doubt or anxiety. It is creative stillness, the rest of the soul. It is like the saying, this is the power of voice within, not just a voice you hear, but a space you return to, asterisk. It is not an outer sound, but the inner place where gratitude resounds and nourishes the image you keep. Many consider gratitude mere courtesy, but in spiritual reality, it is a creative power. Gratitude shifts your vibration. It moves you from lack into abundance, from fear into trust. The subconscious records this change and arranges outward conditions to match. Thus, gratitude is not to be reserved until after you receive. It must become the beginning of every vision. Look at the lives of those who practice gratitude. They need not live in riches to be happy. Yet by constant thanksgiving, they attract good things continually. They do not waste energy in blame or comparison, for they know gratitude is the current that opens the flow of blessings. By contrast, those who only complain shut their own doors. They impress negative feelings upon their images and reap prolonged lack. This is not injustice, but the operation of mental law. To practice anticipatory gratitude, begin with the smallest things. Before sleep, picture the response image you desire and say within, I thank you that this is already real. Even if unseen by the eye, let your heart feel the joy of its presence. In the morning, give a few minutes to thankfulness for a day of opportunity, for health, for peace. With steady practice, you will notice the entire climate of your feelings change. And when feeling changes, form follows. Remember, anticipatory gratitude is never tense. It is not forced repetition, but a natural joy. You do not strain to believe, you live as though it were already true. By the gentle daily practice, you engrave the image into the subconscious. There is no rush, no need to check results. Like the seed in the soil, it grows of itself, and gratitude is the sunlight and water that nourish it. Anticipatory gratitude is a spiritual discipline, but it is also delight. As you practice, you will discover you are no longer pleading in anxiety, but living in deep peace. You have entered a new state of mind where every prayer becomes an act of creation, and every image is sealed with grateful feeling. In that place, faith no longer seems difficult, for gratitude has made faith a living experience, and from there, your life will be transformed. Replacing the image, breaking the clay idols, within every human mind there dwell invisible images, spiritual patterns often hidden even from our own awareness. They may be painful memories, recurring fears, long-carried guilt, or unresolved resentments. These images gradually become clay idols enthroned in the subconscious. They are not visible statues, but mental pictures nourished by negative emotion, and because the subconscious is absolutely faithful, it reproduces whatever is deeply impressed upon it. The result is a cycle of repeated suffering, illness, and failure, so persistent that we mistakenly call it fate. The person who carries within the image of constant rejection will move from one relationship to another, always meeting the same denial. One who carries the image of guilt will continually feel unworthy of love or success. No matter how many opportunities appear, this is not punishment by some external force. It is simply the law of mind, any image bound to emotion, whether positive or negative, becomes a command to the subconscious. To liberate life, we must dare to break these clay idols. One cannot build a new house upon a rotting foundation. One cannot sow new seed in soil choked with weeds. The first work is cleansing, yet cleansing does not mean repression or denial. The subconscious cannot be deceived by denial. If you say, I am not afraid, while still imagining failure, the fear remains intact. The only way to dissolve an old image is to replace it with one stronger, brighter, more filled with truth. Picture this. When a painful memory arises, instead of letting it dominate, you immediately replace it with a scene of peace. If an image of resentment appears, you deliberately envision that person smiling in light and you smiling in return. If fear of failure emerges, you instantly substitute the image of yourself, standing firm, confident, accomplishing the task. The subconscious cannot hold two images at once. It will engrave whichever you sustain longer and stronger This is the principle of replacement simple, yet filled with power. Forgiveness is one of the most potent forms of replacement. Forgiveness is not merely speaking words of release. It is recreating the memory and imagination. When you picture reconciliation, light surrounding, love prevailing, you are replacing the old image with a new one. You do not change the past. You change your emotional bond with it. And when that bond is transformed, the subconscious releases the energy once imprisoned in pain. That energy returns to restore health, strengthen work, and renew relationships. One woman shared that for years she always saw her father shouting at her, belittling her. Though he had passed away, the image lived on within, destroying her confidence and sabotaging her career. When she was guided to replace that image with one of her father, blessing her, smiling, and affirming her worth, at first she thought it artificial, but she persevered daily, holding the new picture in her heart. Gradually, the clay idol crumbled. The result was a profound sense of relief, restful sleep, renewed health, and the arrival of a new career. She had not changed her father, she had changed the image she carried, and that change set her free. Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do." Here lies a profound spiritual key. Forgiveness is not excusing wrong, but breaking the dark image in the mind and replacing it with the light of understanding. When you do this, the clay idol falls and the subconscious is set free. From there, creative energy flows again, opening the way for healing and prosperity. Ask yourself, what idols are you worshipping in your mind? Is it recurring fear, images of failure, shadows of the past? If so, have the courage to step into the act of replacement. Each time darkness approaches, light, a brighter image. Practice this faithfully until the old pictures lose their power. This is not a one-time act, but a daily discipline. The reward is freedom. You are no longer imprisoned by old memories and emotions. Clay idols survive only as long as you feed them with attention and emotion. Withdraw your energy. Replace them with new images, and they dissolve. In that cleared space, the image of Christ finds room to be born, the image of truth, of love, of freedom. When this happens, you do not merely see your life change. You feel your soul become lighter, clearer, as though it had never been bound. This is true liberation, beginning with the replacement of the image and the breaking of the clay idols within you. Forgiveness through redemptive imagination. Every relationship in life mirrors the state of the inner world. No conflict exists purely on the outside. All of it begins with the image you hold in your mind of another. When that image is clouded with hurt, with distorted memory, with anger, it becomes a chain binding both you and the other. The outer world is only a mirror. If you look at someone through the lens of resentment, every action of theirs will seem to you an insult. But if you change the image, your imagination can open a path to redemption, liberating not only the other person, but first of all yourself. Forgiveness does not demand that others change. Forgiveness begins with an inward decision, the decision to alter the image you have imprisoned in the subconscious. Each time you replay another's mistake, you deepen the dark picture upon your mind, and thus you repeat the pain. Forgiveness through redemptive imagination means using the same power, but instead of recreating the old memory, you paint a new picture. You imagine the person surrounded by the light of love. You envision a meeting where no reproach remains, where understanding reigns. In doing so, you do not deny the past, you release the future. There is a powerful technique called wrapping in light. When thinking of one who has hurt you, instead of letting the old memory dominate, imagine them standing in a circle of pure white light. Within that light, They are no longer the one who harmed, but a soul being healed, you are there too, both covered in peace. If you persist in repeating this image, the subconscious begins to erase the heavy lines of the old memory. One day you will recall it without rage, only with relief. That is true forgiveness. Scripture records the words of Jesus. If, while offering at the altar, you remember your brother has something against you, leave your gift and first be reconciled. The deeper meaning is this: there can be no true communion with spirit while the mind holds images of conflict. The altar of God cannot accept a heart still locked in hatred, yet reconciliation need not always be outward. At times the other has gone, or is not ready. What matters is the inward act, the recreation of the image that frees your own heart. There was a man who lived for years in hatred after a property dispute with his brother. He believed himself betrayed, and the memory haunted his days. When guided to practice wrapping in light, he began to imagine his brother smiling, shaking his hand, and both laughing in reconciliation. At first he resisted, calling it false, but he continued. After weeks, the painful memory softened. His sleep grew peaceful. Then unexpectedly a letter came from his brother asking to meet. Their reunion was filled with tears that dissolved years of bitterness. This was no random miracle. It was the inevitable result of replacing the image in imagination. Forgiveness through redemptive imagination not only heals relationships, it frees the creative energy, long imprisoned. As long as you nurture hatred, much of your spiritual power is held hostage in the past. Release it, and that energy returns to you, reviving health, blessing work, clarifying the mind. Many who have forgiven testify that peace came, but also finances, family, and career began to flourish. For forgiveness is not only a moral act, it is a spiritual law that releases creative energy. Patience is vital. Old images do not vanish in a day, but each time you choose to imagine a new picture, you carve a different image upon the tablet of the subconscious. In time, the new picture becomes the dominant pattern, and the old fades, like darkness yielding to dawn. Thus, redemptive imagination becomes the most powerful tool to reclaim freedom. Remember, you cannot control the actions or words of others, but you can always control the image you hold of them in your mind. And it is that image which determines your experience. Forgiveness through redemptive imagination is the step by which you reclaim your creative power, cease to be bound by the shadows of the past, and enter the liberty of light. This is no empty theory. It is the certain operation of spiritual law, and whoever dares to practice it will taste its freedom, healing through the perfect image. Healing is not a battle against disease, nor an effort to repair a broken body. True healing begins with restoring the perfect image of man in the mind. The body is only a mirror reflecting what the mind has impressed upon it. When the mind clings to distorted images, fear, guilt, tension, the body responds with imbalance. But when the mind steadfastly holds to the perfect image, the body obeys. This is an unchanging principle, simple yet profound. Remember the words of Scripture. I am the Lord that healeth thee. Asterisk. This is not a promise for the future, but a present truth. Divine life is already whole. Health is the natural state. Sickness arises only when the mind loses sight of the original image. Therefore, true healing is not begging God for a miracle, but restoring in consciousness the picture of the body as strong, harmonious, and alive. Once that image is engraved, the subconscious immediately commands the body to reorganize. There was once a man whose arthritis was so severe that his fingers could not move. Each day he began to picture himself holding a pen, touching the hair of his grandchild, playing the piano as in his youth. At first it was a vague dream, but day by day the image grew vivid. Filled with joy, his subconscious received that picture, and gradually his body responded. Months later, he wrote again, and music flowed once more from his hands. This was no vague miracle, but proof of an unchanging law. The body follows the image, the mind sustains. The perfect image is not fanciful dreaming, but spiritual truth already present. Every cell is designed to reflect harmony. Disease has no substance of its own. It is merely a distorted image sustained too long. Replace it with the true image, and the body simply returns to its natural state. Like adjusting a mirror, the correct reflection appears instantly without strain. This requires spiritual discipline. The sick are often haunted by symptoms, diagnoses, and words of fear. Every repetition engraves the image of illness more deeply. To heal, one must decisively cease nourishing those pictures. You do not deny the symptom, but you refuse to give it power. You withdraw energy from the false image and pour it into the true. The perfect image becomes the center, the light that banishes darkness. One effective practice is to write a spiritual prescription on paper. Describe your body clearly in its healthy state, in the present tense, as though it is already real. For example, my lungs breathe deeply and freely. My joints move with ease. My digestion works in harmony. Every cell shines with life. Each day, read this prescription in stillness, imagining the corresponding scene. Do so not with tension, but with peace, like a farmer patiently watering a plant. A woman once suffered from ulcers so severe she could not eat. Doctors gave up, yet she fixed upon a single image, herself, sitting in a garden, eating an apple, laughing with her children. That simple picture, held daily with faith, carried her through. Within 2 months, she ate normally. Her health completely restored. This is clear proof. When the perfect image is sustained in faith, the body must obey. Healing through the perfect image does not mean rejecting medical care, but it brings you to the root. Medicine can treat the surface, but the image in the mind is the true cause. When the root is changed, the branches follow. Regard all outward aids as tools, but the perfect image is the foundation. People often ask, how long until the image becomes real? The answer is, as long as it takes for persistence to engrave it deeply enough. The patient, for the body is dense matter. It requires time to align with the change in mind. Yet trust this, once the image is deeply impressed, nothing can prevent recovery. Rest in peace, unshaken, unhurried, like the seed in the soil. It will sprout in its season. Healing through the perfect image is a call to return to your true nature. You are not disease. You are not limitation. You are divine life seeking expression through the body. By holding that image, you open the door for creative power to flow, and from that place, you will find not only the body restored, but the soul at peace, because you have returned to the original pattern God placed within you from the beginning. Prosperity, the circulation of good. Prosperity is not hoarding, nor is it the cold numbers written on paper. Prosperity is the circulation of good, the ceaseless flow of life from the divine source passing through you and out into the world. When you understand this principle, you realize there is no need for struggle or fear, for prosperity does not come from outside. It springs from the state of consciousness within. A mind open to good will always find opportunity, and a heart that gives will never know lack. Scripture declares, I have come that they may have life, and have it more abundantly. Asterisk, abundance is not display. But the natural overflow of divine life, when your mind clings to fear or to the notion of scarcity, you build walls that block this current. But when you recognize that you are a channel, not an owner, the circulation of good flows freely. Prosperity ceases to be a goal to be grasped and becomes the natural result of a life in harmony with law. Look to nature. The river does not store water for itself. It continually flows. And so it remains fresh. Air does not withhold. It gives and receives. And this circulation sustains life. When flow stops, water becomes stagnant. Air becomes suffocating. So it is with man. When you cling in fear, you cut off the flow. But when you trust and give, you open wide the door for the stream to pour in. Some spend their whole lives in fear of poverty. They clutch. They withhold. They deny themselves joy. And strangely, they always remain in want, for the image of poverty has been deeply engraved in their subconscious. Others may possess little, yet they live with gratitude and generosity. Their openness draws opportunities and blessings without end. This is not accident, but immutable law. Wherever good is allowed to circulate, prosperity appears. To enter this flow, you must change your vision. Do not pray from lack. Imagine from sufficiency. Do not say, I need. Say, I thank you that it is already here. Asterisk. Living in anticipatory gratitude tunes you to the frequency of prosperity. Each time you give thanks for abundance, you affirm that it is already flowing through you. And from that state, your actions carry inspiration, your decision clarity, your path expansion. A powerful practice is to envision yourself living in fullness, not with selfish ambition, but in the spirit of circulation. Imagine yourself paying expenses with a smile, helping others with joy, receiving supply with gratitude. Such images, impressed upon the subconscious, shatter the old picture of lack. When the mind shifts, the outer world mirrors the change. Remember that money is only one expression of prosperity, not its essence. Prosperity is peace of mind, health, friendship, opportunity. Money is but a stream within this vast ocean. When you honor and give thanks for every expression of good, you open the door for more. But if you despise or fear money, you shut the entrance. Use money as an instrument for the circulation of good, and it will always return greater and better. In stillness, you may hear a deep voice reminding you that you lack nothing. This is the power of voice within, not just a voice you hear, but a space you return to. Asterisk. In that inner space, you feel the fullness that has always been present. When you return to that voice, you stop looking outward in fear and begin looking inward with trust. And that trust appears outwardly as a prosperous life. Begin with small steps. Each morning, give thanks for what you already have. Each night, envision the coming day filled with opportunity. When you spend, silently affirm, I rejoice that I have enough to share. Asterisk. When you receive, say, I am grateful, for good is circulating. Asterisk. With steady practice, change will appear not by luck, but because you have placed yourself in the flow of law. Prosperity is the circulation of good. When you cease resisting and begin trusting, when you replace the image of lack with the image of overflow, when you live in gratitude and generosity, your life becomes a river, ever fresh. You live not only in sufficiency, but as a source for others, and this is true prosperity, the kind no upheaval can take away, for it flows from the endless stream of God within you. The practice of spiritual giving, the inner tithe. Giving is not a forced duty, nor a payment to buy favor. Giving is a spiritual secret, a way by which man opens the circulation of good and affirms faith that supply never runs dry. Yet beyond all outer forms, the deeper practice is the inner tithe, the offering of mind and heart. This is not the calculation of a tenth in numbers, but the daily act of surrendering a portion of your consciousness to truth, to gratitude, to keeping the inner channel clear. One may give much outwardly, yet still live in fear, in scarcity, in selfishness, and such giving does not bring freedom. Another, though possessing little, offers a tithe of the mind, spending time in gratitude, in prayer for others, in imagining good spreading forth. That inner act is more powerful than any material gift, for it opens the circulation within the soul itself. And once that channel is open, prosperity finds its way in through paths unseen. The inner tithe may begin with the smallest acts. Each day, give a portion of your thought to gratitude. Instead of letting the mind fill with worry, spend a few minutes counting the good already. Present a roof overhead, a meal, a loved one by your side. Each time you whisper thanks, you offer a portion of consciousness to the truth that supply already exists. With practice, this becomes a holy habit. The inner tithe also means giving through imagination. When you think kindly of another, you bestow upon them an invisible gift of great power. Imagine someone wrapped in light, pray they find peace. Or picture a community living in harmony. Such spiritual offerings are the true coins placed in the treasury of the soul, and they return to you as joy, serenity, and unexpected opportunity. When you practice the inner tithe, you train the mind to release its grip on material attachment. You begin to see that all circulation begins within. You give not because you have surplus, but to keep the current flowing. Like breath, you must exhale to inhale. The mind is the same. If you never give, you become choked by fear and lack. There is another hidden truth. The inner tithe breaks the hold of clay idols in the mind. Each time you give a portion of attention to the good, you reclaim energy once locked in negative images. You withdraw nourishment from fear and feed visions of light, of prosperity, of peace. Thus, the tithe becomes a redirection of the whole inner life. Picture a person who spends a few minutes each day in this inner giving. They sit quietly, breathe deeply, and thank life for what is theirs. Then they spend a few more minutes imagining light covering their family, their work, their community. In that moment, they have deposited into the invisible treasury a spiritual tithe. Over time, they notice life becoming lighter, relationships more harmonious, needs met at the right hour. This is not fantasy, it is the faithful operation of spiritual law. The inner tithe can be practiced in every action. At work, instead of thinking only of gain, give a portion of mind to service. In speaking, give a portion of words to encouragement. In walking down the street, give a portion of sight to blessing those you pass. These small offerings are golden coins in the treasury of spirit, and together they form a storehouse that cannot be exhausted. Some ask, can inner giving truly affect outward life? The answer is yes, for outer form always follows inner spirit. When the channel is open in the soul, material supply cannot help but flow. This is natural resonance. You do not give to barter, you give to keep the current free. And that freedom reflects in opportunity, in prosperity, in peace. Remember, the inner tithe is not a burden, but a joy. It is the moment you affirm that you are not bound by lack, but are living in the circulation of good. In practicing the inner tithe, you step into the endless river of life itself, and there you find yourself continually nourished, continually full, continually at peace. Daily discipline, morning and evening vision. Every spiritual seed requires steady nourishment. No vision can sprout and endure if it is remembered only in moments of excitement and then forgotten when life grows busy. It is the quiet, the patient repetition, day by day, that transforms the image you hold in mind into reality. This is why daily discipline, especially in the morning and evening, is the framework that supports the entire spiritual journey. Morning is the hour when the mind is still pure, untouched by the world's noise. Like soil, freshly tilled, it is ready to receive new seed. If in that moment you sow a clear vision, it sets the tone for the entire day. You may picture work unfolding smoothly, the body strong, relationships harmonious. You see yourself walking through the day with peace and strength. That image becomes the invisible foundation for your actions, and the outer world reflects what you have sown. Evening is equally vital. As you close the day, the mind enters rest, while the subconscious becomes more active than ever. If you carry worry, anger, or dark images into sleep, the subconscious will labor over those fragments all night. But if, before sleep, you spend a few quiet minutes in peace, recalling the good, reinforcing a bright vision, you sow seeds for the subconscious to cultivate. And by morning, you awaken lighter in spirit, wrapped in a different energy field. There was once a man who struggled with chronic pessimism. Each morning he began by reading negative news, dwelling on difficulties. And each day he met with failure. When advised to change, he adopted a new practice. Every morning, before touching his phone, he closed his eyes and imagined himself healthy, working with joy, meeting others with a smile. Each night, and he reviewed 3 things he was grateful for and pictured a tomorrow full of success. Within weeks, his mood lifted, work began to prosper, and relationships improved. There was no mystery here, only the law of mind faithfully mirroring what he continually sowed, morning and evening. Have you ever paused to observe how you begin and end your day? What seeds do you sow into the soil of spirit each morning? What do you hand to the subconscious each night to tend? Do you begin with anxiety and close with complaint, or do you begin with faith and end with gratitude? The answer reveals why your experiences repeat in the colors they do. I thank you for listening and reflecting with me, for your very presence and attention is itself part of spiritual discipline. Morning and evening vision requires little time. 5 minutes of silence can change an entire day. A few moments of gratitude before sleep can open a new life. The issue is not duration, but constancy. Think of it as tending a flame. A fire will not blaze if lit once and abandoned. It must be fed steadily with small sticks. Each morning, each evening, is a stick that sustains the inner fire. Try beginning today. In the morning, before the outer world touches you, give a few minutes to the inner world. At night, before sleep carries you away, let a beautiful vision be the final gift you offer the mind. Practice faithfully, and you will see changes not only in feeling but in the very events around you. This law never errs. It waits only for you to enter and confirm that your life can be shaped from its quietest moments. Serving through imagination, the spiritual candle. Imagination is not only the instrument for personal healing or private prosperity. It is the bridge between your soul and the world, the channel through which good flows outward from the individual into humanity. Every person carries a sacred responsibility to use imagination not merely for their own life, but to serve the community and gift the world with a brighter vision. This is the essence of the spiritual candle, the light kindled within that shines outward to guide many When you think of a loved one and picture them well, you give them an invisible gift of power. When you cover a city with the vision of peace, you contribute to shaping its atmosphere. The outer world is not built only by physical acts, but also by the images and vibrations radiating from countless minds. A single soul, praying with radiant imagination, can send out force like a candle, lighting an entire darkened room. From ancient times, spiritual masters knew this secret. They understood that to pray for a nation or a community was not vague, begging, but the act of imagining new scenes, peace replacing war, justice replacing injustice, love replacing hate. These pictures, held in faith, form a spiritual field that can influence the collective, and when many hold together the same vision, the effect multiplies, like a river formed from many streams. One simple yet powerful practice is called the spiritual candle. A small group agrees to envision a flame of pure white light in the center of a situation. That flame does not force, does not control it, only shines. Participants need not be in the same place, only united in mind at an appointed time, holding the picture of light, covering the place or event in need of healing. Such practice has brought striking results, from easing social tension to restoring harmony in communities. When you dedicate imagination to service, you rise beyond the small self. You cease asking what life will bring to you and begin asking how your light may reach others. This attitude not only blesses the world, but purifies your own soul. For when you imagine good for humanity, you cannot at the same time clutch selfishness or resentment. In giving this way, if you open new streams of prosperity and peace for yourself, a woman once lived in loneliness and despair. Instead of praying only for her own relief, she began each evening to imagine light surrounding the suffering in hospitals, the hungry children, the abandoned elderly. She pictured them uplifted, smiling, embraced by peace. Months later, and her own spirit softened, her loneliness melted, and loving relationships entered her life. This was no accident, but the certain result of using imagination in service. The spiritual candle never burns for one alone. It spreads, it illuminates, and in shining out it also brightens you. Each day you may choose a situation to dedicate imagination to. A hospital filled with light, a classroom of children radiant with joy, a village of the poor echoing with laughter. Let these visions be the gifts you give the world. Scripture says, whatever you have done for the least of these, you have done for me. Asterisk. The spiritual gift sent through imagination is counted under this law. You need no fame, no power to serve. You need only the willingness to let imagination shine for the good. In doing so, you join the greatest work of all, transforming the world from within. The spiritual candle is both duty and privilege. Each time you use imagination to bless the world, you partner with divine power in creating a new reality. And once lit, this flame never dies. It continues to spread, lighting dark places, and at last returns to shine upon your own life. Faith in the storm, holding the image in adversity. True faith is not measured on calm days, but is tested in the hours of the storm, when outer circumstances deny everything you have believed, when the body is weary, finances exhausted, and pressures surround you. That is the moment spiritual law asks you one question. Will you still hold the image you planted in your mind? If you let go, the image dissolves. If you remain steadfast, even in the darkest night, you prove that the seed has power enough to break through. Remember, every image you nurture in imagination must pass through a season of testing, not to punish, but to strengthen faith. Just as the seed must lie buried in darkness before reaching the light, the spiritual vision must endure the silence where nothing appears but contradiction. If in that place you still choose to believe, you have entered the very essence of faith. In Scripture, Job stands as living witness. He lost possessions, children, health, and even respect, yet he declared, "Though he slay me, yet will I hope in him." Asterisk, these were not words of despair, but of certainty that the image of divine life could not be destroyed by temporary suffering. He held to the vision of a good God, and that steadfastness carried him through the storm. Holding the image in adversity does not mean pretending pain does not exist. It means choosing to see beyond the passing event to the unchanging principle. When the body aches, you still hold the picture of health. When the purse is empty, you still hold the vision of supply flowing freely. When abandoned by others, you still hold the image of divine love surrounding you. This is the highest discipline of the soul, choosing the true image over the false appearance. A mother once prayed for her son lost in war. Month after month, no word came. Fear screamed within her. But each night she chose to imagine him returning home, strong, smiling, embracing her. Tears fell, but within them she returned again to the vision. And after many months, the miracle came. Her son returned exactly as she had pictured. This was no coincidence, but the law of spirit working when faith endures the storm. In hard hours, you will hear an inner voice whisper, "This is the power of voice within not just a voice you hear, but a space you return to." Asterisk, it is the place where you sit apart from the world's noise, reminding yourself that the image you hold is truth, while adversity is but passing shadow. In that space you draw strength to hold the vision steady. The greatest enemy of faith is not outward adversity, but inward wavering. If today you believe and tomorrow you doubt, as you uproot your own seed, if you pray for healing yet speak constantly of sickness, you sow two opposing images that cancel one another. To weather the storm, you need an undivided resolve that no matter what circumstances declare, the image you hold remains unchanged. A helpful practice in stormy times is to write your vision in simple affirmations, in the present tense, as though already fulfilled. Read them daily. Let the words be anchors when emotions are swept away, and when strength for spoken prayer fails. Sit silently, close your eyes, and simply see the image you have chosen. That silence is the act of faith. Every storm passes, but what remains after is the quality of your soul. If you abandon the image, you must sow again. But if you hold fast, you emerge with faith refined, and that very faith shapes the image into reality. Faith in the storm is the bridge that turns prayer into lived experience. Therefore, do not fear adversity. It comes not to destroy, but to strengthen the seed within. If you keep the image, you will discover that the storm was only a passage on the way to light. And when you cross it, you will know that true faith is not fleeting feeling, but unshakable steadfastness, a flame that no wind can extinguish within the soul, a new society from a new inner life, the new heaven and the new earth. No society is ever built anew by resolutions or outer reforms alone. Every lasting transformation begins within man himself. A mind still crowded with doubt, fear, and hatred will reproduce the same problems, even in a restructured order. But when the inner life is renewed, when thought is purified, when imagination is turned toward truth and good, a new society inevitably comes forth. This is an unchanging law. Heaven within will reflect as heaven upon the earth. Scripture declares, "I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the old heaven and the old earth had passed away." Asterisk, this does not describe a physical upheaval, but a rebirth in collective consciousness. Heaven is the realm of ideas. Earth is the realm of form. When new ideas are conceived, new forms follow as certainty. Thus, the new heaven and the new earth are not distant dreams, but present possibilities whenever mankind lays down old images and sows new ones in the mind. You may ask, how can changing my thoughts affect the whole of society? The answer lies in resonance. Every thought is a vibration, and when many are directed toward light, a new field is formed. As countless drops join to form a river, countless thoughts of good unite to shape a civilization, one individual holding the image of justice, peace, and love is a point of light. Many points of light together disperse the darkness. This is the only path by which a new world appears. There are times when society sinks into crisis, when anxiety reigns, and many believe darkness has prevailed, but look deeper, and you see it is the death throes of old images. Fear, war, injustice are only the fruits of false beliefs, long sustained. When humanity refuses to recreate those pictures, they wither away. And in that clearing, new visions of peace and prosperity are planted. Every person has a part in this work. Do not think only leaders or those with power decide the world's destiny. The true power is in the thought you nurture daily. When you cease complaining and begin imagining a just society, you are helping to lay the new earth. When you stop cursing and start picturing a community filled with love, you are building the new heaven. Your thought never influences you alone. It always flows into the collective stream. A woman once lived in an era of turmoil. She had no position, no voice in media, yet each day she pictured the world as one home, children fed, people helping one another, conflicts resolved by understanding. She did not preach nor protest in the streets, but she faithfully held the image. Over time, she noticed changes. Neighbors' kinder, family tension easing, uplifting news beginning to appear. This was no accident, but the result of a mind that refused to resonate with darkness. The new heaven and new earth do not appear in a single day, but are born through the steady choice of millions of souls sowing new images. It demands discipline, steadfastness, and faith that good is stronger than evil. It requires courage to abandon the ruts of negative thought, to deny fear and doubt mastery over imagination. Above all, it requires loyalty to vision even before the eye can see. If you desire society to change, begin with your mind. Observe what images you are recreating daily. Are you nurturing discontent, criticism, fear, or are you nurturing justice, love, and trust? This choice is no small matter. It is the seed cast into the collective field. One seed, deeply sown in faith, can alter an entire harvest. The new heaven and new earth are not fanciful dreams, but the inevitable result of a society awakened to the law. Thought is cause. Form is effect. When the cause is renewed, the effect must change. And in every moment you have the chance to join in this work. With every image you hold, with every prayer you sustain, you lay a brick in the foundation of a new society. The new world will not be built by force, but by the radiance of renewed souls. When you change within, you change the world. And when enough do the same, the new heaven and the new earth appear not as miracle, but as the natural unfolding of spiritual law, the law forever faithful to the image you choose to keep in mind, the conclusion becoming a creative point of light. Every spiritual journey ultimately leads man to the same realization, that he is a point of light in the universe, a channel through which good is revealed, No one is born to dwell forever in darkness, nor destined to live endlessly in fear or lack. Each soul carries the mission of becoming a lamp, so that the light of the divine may shine through into the world. And to fulfill this, you need no great outward power, only the discipline to hold the right image in your mind, to nourish it with steadiness, emotion, and gratitude. When the person begins to live as a point of light, they no longer think only of themselves. They know that every thought, every image nurtured in the heart, not only shapes personal destiny, but resounds into the collective field. Each time you hold the image of healing, you are not only healing yourself, you are strengthening others. Each time you imagine a society of peace, you are not only bringing harmony to your family, you are planting a seed for the whole community. All are woven together in an unseen web, where every light has power to influence the whole. A point of light is not always blazing. Sometimes it is only a flicker in the night. Yet that flicker still dispels the shadows around it. Likewise, a mind that holds the true image in the midst of trial becomes hope for many. You need not be perfect. You need not never stumble. The only necessity is the resolve to return to the image you have chosen. No matter how often life tries to pull you away, true strength is not in never wavering, but in always returning to the light. Becoming a point of creative light also means accepting responsibility for what you nurture within. You no longer blame circumstances or others, for you know that the image you hold is the source of your experience. Change the image, and you change your world. And when many change together, a new world must arise. This is spiritual law, impartial, unchanging, accessible to every soul. A wonder occurs when you truly live as a point of light. Your life becomes a living testimony to the power of holy imagination. Others, looking at you, will sense peace, faith, and joy. You need not preach, for your presence itself becomes inspiration. A candle does not speak of light, it simply shines. And the shining spreads of itself. If you ask how to begin, start with the smallest steps. Hold a bright image in the morning and reinforce it at night. Use imagination to bless a friend, a community, a circumstance. Replace each negative picture with a radiant one. Give thanks before results appear. These simple acts are sparks that gather until you yourself become a true point of light. One day, looking back, you will see that every change began when you chose to live with a new image. You will see that trials once trembling now stand as the foundation where your faith was forged. You will know that good was never distant, but a stream always flowing, waiting only for your heart to open and release it. The conclusion of this journey is not an ending, but a beginning. You have learned to hold the image in the manger of the mind, to know the creative law of thought, emotion, and form. You have discovered the power of response pictures, of emotion as the seal, of anticipatory gratitude, of substitution and forgiveness. You have touched healing, prosperity, inner giving, the morning and evening discipline, and the spiritual candle. And now, all of this is not only for yourself, but so that you may stand as a point of light, joining in the great work of building the new heaven and the new earth. Go forth and live as testimony. Let the light within you shine, not by boastful words, but by the peace, the steadfastness, and the faith you carry. For the world waits for points of light, and when you become one of them, you will see that no darkness endures long for light. Even the smallest flame always prevails. You have reached the end of the journey to discover that the light is not far away. It has been waiting to rise within you. Every thought is a seed, every image a prayer, and every emotion you release is the seal impressed upon the subconscious. The world does not need you to be perfect. It needs you to dare to become a point of light. Begin today. Nurture radiant images. Remain steadfast in adversity. Spread light through redeeming imagination, and you will see when one person shines, the darkness retreats, and when millions shine together, a new heaven and a new earth will appear